There's a lot of things to keep in mind during this new normal of COVID-19. And there are a lot of questions that are coming at people, both internally in communications and PR roles and externally from businesses. What it gets down to is there's a great deal of uncertainty about how to carry on during this critical moment. So I found this great article from Reagan's PR Daily, 8 Rules for Better Communications During COVID-19. And I won't go into all 8 of the tips, but there's several I wanted to mention and elaborate on. One is now is not the time to sell. It says here, there seems to be a growing negative response to coronavirus-related marketing that's too tangential or loosely tied to the global pandemic. So they're saying basically don't look like you're trying to sell using the disease as a hook. I can't agree more with that sentiment. It's just frankly on the verge of despicable to try to tack your product or service onto this crisis, and especially if it's just a very tangential way. For example, I offer public relations and crisis communication webinars. Now, to be fair, the very organization I just mentioned, Reagan, they offer crisis comm trainings, and I'm going to offer those trainings and webinars too, except I'm going to tailor mine more affordably for small business. But I decided to put a pause on that while I regroup and think a little bit about how that looks. I don't want to look like, even though it's my normal business to help businesses plan, I don't want to look like I am trading on people's panic or concern. That said, I have actually consulted for free with local municipality, small businesses around, just give them general advice. Now, if they, of course, want me to go in and create a plan, that's a different story. But at the very least, I'm giving some free advice and some general direction pointing for that. But I decided after some thought, after the first week of being at home, that now was not the time for me to launch my webinar business. So stay tuned for that. I agree with that. If you have something meaningful or thoughtful or helpful to say, speak up. And this is number 2 on this list. Based on limited experience in recent days, stories that are legitimately insightful are okay if you're judicious in how you frame the narrative and approach the media. If you have a service or product offering that can genuinely help people in this time of need, such as Comcast offering free internet access to low-income residents or educational software companies providing free online learning tools for students, focus on informing, not promoting. It's definitely okay if you're a restaurant and you're offering free meals to medical staffs at hospitals or first responders. That's great. But it's not newsworthy just to say, oh, by the way, we have curbside delivery. It's pretty well assumed at this point that every restaurant trying to survive is offering some form of that or delivery. Reporter inquiries or queries are fair game. Reporter queries such as HERO, which I've mentioned before, help a reporter outsource requests. ProfNet for experts and Quoted are more valuable than ever because those reporters are covering the topic of the request. So in addition, email pitch platforms like OnePitch, which matches your story pitch to journalists' preferences, are less intrusive and more targeted. A quick scan of HERO email queries this week reveals plenty of non-coronavirus requests for expert sources. Putting more effort in this direction right now is a good bet, but a word of caution, as this guy wrote. I responded to one last week, and the writer, a contributor, indicated that he had received more than 300 responses. So if you're looking for media opportunities for your brand, HERO, Help a Reporter Out, is free to get on that list, but just bear in mind everybody's doing it. But it's far better to go and try to match what reporters are looking for rather than trying to put a square peg in a round hole. Anyway, there's several other great tips here in this article. I'll put the link in the show notes. But I think the thing that's most important is the last thing, number 8 here in the story. Think twice, even 3 times before hitting send. If you're not sure whether a message or pitch is in good taste, relevant, or timely, don't send it. Everyone, media included, is especially sensitive right now. You can do lasting damage to relationships or your brand with something that comes across as tone deaf or shamelessly opportunistic. Welcome back to PR After Hours. I'm your host, Alex Greenwood, bringing you your weekly cocktail of PR and marketing tips that will help you and your business.